Hey everyone, it's Leela from Miss Kiss Creations. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video, I am going to show you how I make this beautiful glittered striped tumbler. The glitter used today is going to be from glitzycreations.com. I will be using 3 of their colors. The first color is going to be Tin Man, which is the silver. The next will be Berry Bliss, which is the blue. And then I'm going to be throwing some chunky glitter on there to kind of create that cascading effect. It's going to be Bad and Boujee. I will be adding a coupon code below to receive 10% off of your purchase from glitzycreations.com. All of the info and my glitter names will be posted in my description below. And like always, I'll be posting all of my materials that I use in this video along with the purchase links in my description as well. With all that being said, let's go ahead and get started on this tumbler. I will be working with a 30-ounce stainless steel tumbler. I did purchase this tumbler from Maker Flow Crafts. Their link will be posted in my description below. I went ahead and I sanded this tumbler with a 180 grit sanding block, and then I wiped it down with 91% alcohol. After I wiped it down, I then sprayed it with Rust-Oleum gray spray paint, Winter Gray. It looks like this. I did spray it with gloss. I will be adding glitter over it. So whenever you do your glitter tumbler, you don't necessarily need satin or flat finish. As long as you have a nice spray painted coat on your tumbler, that will be enough. Whenever you glitter over your tumbler and you go ahead and epoxy, the epoxy won't seep through the tumbler enough or the glitter enough to touch the gloss. So it won't allow the epoxy to fisheye the way it would if you would do an alcohol ink tumbler with gloss spray paint. So I hope that makes sense for y'all. To apply my glitter, I will be using double-sided tape. I do have 2 different brands and 2 different sizes. I will be posting both links in my description below. One brand is Duck brand and the other brand is Fasten brand. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get started with this tumbler. Make sure your spray paint is completely dried. So after you spray paint it, it takes about 25 to 30 minutes to dry. And once it's completely dry, we'll go ahead and add the tape. Like I said, I will be adding the glitter with double-sided tape. This is a super easy way to add a glitter or striped tumbler. I love this method. So this double-sided tape, if you don't already know, it has a backing on it. So this part that I'm touching is not sticky. And then you apply it to your tumbler. And once you want to go ahead and add the glitter, you'll then peel up that backing and then you'll apply the glitter to the sticky part. And I'll go ahead and explain that while I'm putting it on my tumbler. What I did was I went ahead and I took my tape measure and I measured around my tumbler and it was about 9 inches. So then I just measured 9 inches of the tape and now I'm going to apply it to my tumbler and I'm going to apply it as straight as I can, and I'm keeping this on my tumbler to show y'all just how you wrap it around, and it's super easy. Just try to keep it straight. I will say with this brand, it is very flimsy tape. So once it's stuck on there on the tumbler, it is stuck. So I'm trying to keep this as straight as I can. And I try my hardest to do that. And I kind of have a little guideline with the lip or the bottom of the tumbler. I'm kind of keeping that straight on there, and that's where I start. And then when I apply it, I then take an X-Acto knife. And if you see there's a little flap there, if you make that flap and you overlap that flap, you're going to notice that with the tumbler or on the tumbler. I don't know if you guys can see that flap here. So what I do is I just take my X-Acto knife and then I cut right where it overlaps. And it's, like I said, it's really flimsy. So make sure when you lay this, you're planning on laying this once. And make sure you don't overlap it, because it will, especially if you're using fluorescent or transparent, I should say, transparent glitter, like the white transparent glitter. It's really hard. You might have to do about 2 or 3 layers so you don't see that tape behind it. But I just go ahead and I take my X-Acto knife, or I have my little fabric. I like my fabric scissors. They help a lot. And I just tear that, or I cut that there, and then I let it sit. And then if you see that it's a little bunched up, you will see that through you will see that through the glitter. So make sure you're trying to cut that line as clean and as flat as possible. Again, it's a little hard. Practice does make perfect with everything. So the more you do it, the easier it will be. And then once you're done with this, you'll go ahead and you'll add your next line or your next piece of tape. You can keep all your lines one size, or you can use different sizes of tape. So these are two different sizes. I have smaller ones. You can add your lines any size you want. It always comes out looking really nice, and you can use 20 colors on your tumbler, however way you want to make your own tumbler. I found a more thin tape in my craft room that I'm going to go ahead and apply after this. So I'm going to do thick, thin, thick, thin, thick, thin, all the way up my tumbler. I purchased this brand of tape from Amazon, and it came in a pack of like 5 or 7 pieces or rolls of tape. So I'll go ahead and I'll add that link in my description below. I have all of my double-sided tape on my tumbler, and now I'm going to go around my tumbler and just press down on the tape. And you see I have this wonky line here. That's okay. I make sure that I try to start and finish all of my pieces of tape in the same area. And there are little spots that I did not get. Later I'm just going to take a little bit of Mod Podge and just put some glitter with that. For the next step of the video, I will be adding my glitter. I'm going to be adding the blue first, the Berry Bliss. I'm gonna have the blue on the bigger pieces of tape. So I'm first going to peel up the bigger pieces of tape. And with this brand, it is, like I said, it's very flimsy with that Fasten brand. So be careful if you are using that. And I'm just peeling up that backing that comes on the tape. I'm keeping the smaller tape, the smaller pieces of tape backing on, because I'm going to be pouring my glitter on this tumbler, so I don't want this glitter to stick to both of the tapes. I just want it to stick to one part of the tape, to the thicker tape. So you see here, I overlap this, so I'm gonna cut this with my fabric scissors as much as I can. This tape is really stubborn, this brand is. And now I'm just going to peel it up. And I see that it's sticking up, so I'm gonna try to push it down some without like pushing hard, because if I push too hard on this tape, it's gonna come right up with my finger and it's gonna bubble, and you'll be able to see that. So we don't want that to happen. So make sure if you're taking this backing off, you're not taking that tape with it, and you're not peeling it or like smush it in any way, because you don't want to smush it, because then it's not going to be even. And if you don't have fingernails like me, you can always use some tweezers, if that works. So you can grab that backing. And if you can see right here, there's some gray showing of the cup, so I will just fix that with Mod Podge at the end there. This is why I like this double-sided tape, because it's not really, you don't have to be too meticulous with it. So once you get the hang of it, it becomes fairly easy. And now I'm gonna remove the last one, and then we'll go ahead and we'll dump the glitter on the tumbler. All right, so I have my catch paper, and now I'm just going to dump all of this glitter on this tumbler all over the tape. Sorry about that, I had to turn off my over fan. I do that all the time. If you are dumping your glitter or using any type of glitter and you have a fan on, go ahead and turn that off, or it's gonna blow this glitter everywhere. So whenever I put this glitter on the double-sided tape, I am usually putting about 2 to 3 coats of it, because if you can see, a lot of it falls off. So I want to make sure this this tape is fully saturated with this glitter, and a lot of the excess will come off. So when I'm finished with each line, I'm going to kind of hold the end of the tumbler and then pat it off with my other hand to get the excess glitter off of the tumbler. And then I will then pour the other glitter that's inside of on my paper into the jar again, and just repeat the process. So if you see that the backing's still on that smaller piece of tape, so none of the glitter is sticking to that smaller piece of tape, that's going to be where the silver goes, where the Tin Man color goes. So it makes it super, super easy. You don't have to worry about taping off your lines or getting the color in the other line. This double-sided tape method is one of the easier methods when it comes to making a striped tumbler. You just pour all over the tumbler, and then we'll repeat the process for the bottom of the tumbler. All right, so I have all of my blue on my tumbler, and for the next step, I'm gonna go right into taking off the smaller pieces of tape, or the more thin pieces of tape, and that's where I'm gonna lay my silver. So what you can do is you can turn off your tumbler, or you can leave your tumbler on and just take that backing right off. And you're gonna see some glitter come off, that's okay. And then you're just gonna remove each one. And then once you're finished with that, you'll go ahead and apply your silver. And now I'm going to apply my silver glitter to my tumbler. Now, since I already have the blue on my tumbler, I'm really focusing on the smaller parts where the tape is exposed. I'm just going to add that all around. And then I'm going to work on my next stripe. I really, really love this silver. This silver is really pretty whenever you epoxy it. And then I'm going to finish this around the entire tumbler. For the next step of the tumbler, I turn my cup turner on, and then I try to look for any areas of the tumbler that I may have missed with the glitter. So if there's any spots around the area that you might have not hit with the glitter, go ahead and take the glitter, pinch it like salt, and just add it to that little area. Don't pour the color on there because it might overlap with the other color. So go ahead and just take that and just pinch it with your finger like salt, and just pour just a little bit, so kind of touch up or clean up your tumbler. You'll be able to see your seam of your tumbler. Maybe yours will be more clean than mine. I have very sloppy, heavy hands. I'm not neat with my work at all, as you can tell. So if you want to try to make it more clean, go ahead and do that. So for instance, this cut is more clean than this cut. I was going to Mod Podge this, but I think I'm okay with just having that glitter like that. I might just go ahead and put some washi tape on the back of the seam. I'm not too sure, or you could just do this and take the glitter and kind of put it on there like that. It might stick. and you'll be able to kind of camouflage that area more. But like with any other tumbler, you're gonna have a front side of the tumbler and you're gonna have a back side of a tumbler. So you could put a piece of fabric or even a piece of ribbon down the line, whichever you prefer. Let's say you did want to clean this up with Mod Podge. I just want to show y'all how you would do it. So I have my Mod Podge here. I have the satin Mod Podge. It doesn't matter which type you have. And then I just took it. I took some and I put some on my brush. I'm doing a very, very light coat of Mod Podge, and I'm just putting it exactly where I need to place that glitter. So I'm just dabbing it, and I'm trying to make it very, very thin because I don't want the glitter to have like a bump there. So now I'm just spreading it out. I'm taking the clean part of the Mod Podge and just trying to just blot it like a sponge. And then now I'm going to take that silver glitter and pinch it like salt, like I said. And I'm just going to add a little bit of glitter over that area. And it's easy as that. And then once you turn your tumbler, you'll have that excess glitter fall off your tumbler. And then you'll have that spot filled in and you won't even be able to tell. So if you want to go ahead and do that for all the lines, you can do that, or you can cut more clean lines than I did. Before we go ahead and epoxy this tumbler, we're gonna go ahead and seal the tumbler. The only thing I use to seal my glitter to my tumbler is Krylon Crystal Clear Acrylic Coating 1303. I will be posting the link where I purchased this. It's just an Amazon link, but this is the only stuff that I use to seal my glitter to my tumbler. I've tried using everything else. For me, it doesn't work. So if you have something else that you use, go ahead and use it. If it works, don't change it. So what I do is I take this outside and I spray 3 coats on this at the same time. So I take it, I spray the entire thing. I wait 5 to 10 seconds. I spray the whole entire thing. I wait another 5 to 10 seconds, and then I spray the whole tumbler again. And then I bring it back in my craft room, and then I wait about 45 minutes until the next step. If you do not spray your tumbler with the acrylic coating or sealer, whenever you go ahead and epoxy, the glitter is going to spread everywhere. It's going to overlap the lines. So spraying the tumbler with the sealer, the glitter with the sealer, it really does sealing that glitter. So whenever you go to epoxy, the lines are still crisp and straight. So whenever you spray your tumbler with the sealer, it is going to dull. So the glitter isn't going to be as shiny as it is now. That's okay. Whenever you work into epoxy and you go ahead and epoxy this tumbler, it's going to shine back up. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit this tumbler with my acrylic sealer, and I'll see y'all in about 45 minutes. Hey guys, I'm back with the tumbler. I have sprayed it with my acrylic sealer and I let it sit for about 45 minutes. And you can see that it has kind of dulled down a little bit. That is okay. I'm now going to apply my epoxy. I did mix my epoxy off screen. If you do want to know how to apply epoxy properly, I will be linking a video in my description below. I did mix about 30 milliliters of epoxy. That's 15 milliliters part A and 15 milliliters of part B, totaling 30 milliliters of epoxy. I don't want too much epoxy on this tumbler. I just want a thin coat of epoxy, just enough for the glitter to stay adhered or to stay on the tumbler so it can have a nice seal with the epoxy. Just like any other tumbler, I'm just going to pour the epoxy on the tumbler and just epoxy right over the glitter. And thankfully I sealed the glitter onto the tumbler. That way it allows the glitter to stay in place with the correct stripes that I placed the glitter on. So it makes it a lot easier to epoxy. The glitter won't move from their own stripe, but I'm still going to apply that epoxy left and right, or up and down, whichever way you wanna look at the tumbler. So I'm still applying the epoxy like this. I'm not going from top to bottom. I'm going side to side. No, the glitter won't move, but I'd rather apply it like this just to be sure that the glitter will stay in place. Now that I have my tumbler epoxied with my thin layer of epoxy, I'm now going to go in with Glitzy Creations Bad and Boujee Chunky Mix. And it's a nice gold, silver, and blue. And I'm going to add the glitter, just pinching it like I would salt. And I'm just going to add a lot of glitter at the bottom here. And then I'm kind of going to swoop it up. So I'm wanting kind of an ombre effect. So I'm first going to add a lot to the bottom. And like I said, I'm just pinching it like salt, and then I am just sprinkling it on. And then as I go higher, I'm just going to lift my hand a little higher and higher as I get further up the tumbler. And this is your own personal preference. However high you want your glitter, that's how much that's how high you just raise your hand. So it's up to you. I'm gonna stop like midway. If I get some pieces up here, that's okay. I wanted to readjust my camera so you can see how high my hand is. So it's about 2 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches. So I raise all the way about 6 inches, and I come back down and I just raise back again. Or you can start really, really high. So it's about 6 or 7 inches away from the tumbler, and then just kind of go back lower. So however you wanna do it, is up to you. This takes a lot of time, so make sure you take your time with this one, because you'd rather add too little than too much, because you can always add more. It's really hard to take away once this is on the tumbler. So right now it looks like a mess, but whenever you get to playing with it and putting your hands up and down and kind of see it, stand up, look over it like this, you can kind of see that nice little effect. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this up. And then once I'm finished with this, I'm then going to let the tumbler spin on the turner for 6 to 8 hours. Once it's finished spinning on the turner, I'm then going to turn off the cup turner and let it air dry or air cure for another 12 hours. 12 to 15 hours, leaving my air curing time for about 24 hours. Hey everybody, I'm back with my tumbler. It's been 24 hours since I've put my coat of epoxy on, and since I've added the glitter on the tumbler. And you can see how I added more onto the bottom, and then it kind of cascaded or ombre up the tumbler. So it has a lot at the bottom, and then I kind of made less at the top. So after I applied that glitter, I took my gloved finger and then I pushed down right after, so I will avoid any of the glitter pieces or the chunky glitter to stand up. So you're gonna feel your tumbler and you're going to feel the glitter. That's what you wanna feel. And you see the seam back here. You're gonna see the seam of your tape if you did a not so well taped job like myself. That's okay, we're gonna sand that down. For the next step of this tumbler, I am now going to sand it. This is just obviously to smooth out the tumbler. You could see the my tape job back here, and then if there's any bubbles that may have created from the epoxy, or if there is any maybe some chunky glitter kind of sticking up, you can sand that. So I'm sanding this tumbler with a 220 grit sanding block. The reason why I chose a 220 grit sanding block is because I want enough grit on there, but I don't want it to be too gritty, because if it's too gritty, then I might just sand off my glitter. So I don't want to sand off my glitter, especially the chunky glitter. You're going to feel the chunky glitter. You're not going to feel that the chunky glitter is exactly sealed in the tumbler. So you're going to feel the texture of the glitter. That's fine. We're going to add another coat. So I'm going to take my tumbler off its turner, and then you can work with this with a turner, or you can just stick your hand inside of the tumbler and work with it like this. You can see that I did have a bubble create from the epoxy, whether I didn't hit it with the heat gun or whatever the case may be. I'm going to first start there, and I'm going to sand that part. Now keep in mind that you're sanding glitter, so you're sanding chunky glitter. So make sure you're not sanding the glitter away. Something that's this profound, I don't know if the camera's picking it up. I might go ahead and just hit that with a 180 grit sanding block, because that's a big bubble. So for something like that, I'm probably going to hit with 180 grit. Everything else I'm going to hit with my 220. Now kind of avoid the areas where it's not sealed. So all this area down here, I actually did a pretty good job with pushing all of this chunky glitter down, so I don't really need to sand too much. But when you sand, make sure you're trying to like file and not really sand, because when you sand, you're going to lift that glitter from the epoxy. So you don't want that. You just want to kind of give like a small file to your tumbler and then just kind of go around it. Don't rip that glitter off of your tumbler, so don't go hard with the sanding block. I know a lot of people tend to use the 180 grit because they just want to sand and sand and sand, but you are sanding away your glitter. So make sure you just have a firm grip on your sanding block or your paper, and you're just sanding and you're applying just a little bit of pressure, just enough. If you do this over and over again with a little bit of pressure, you're going to smooth out this tumbler more than if you take a 180 sanding block and you really sand it very hard. That's going to just sand the glitter right off. So if you just continue doing this, you will eventually get what you want and it will eventually be sanded. And then with my not so well sanding or taping job, I'm going to take my my sanding block and kind of sand that as well. So again, I'm not applying too much pressure because I don't want to sand the glitter off. Again, there was only one coat of epoxy on here and I didn't put that thick of a coat. So I don't want to sand this glitter off. I just want a nice sanding just to even out any rough spots I might have. I'm now finished sanding my tumbler. Very important thing that I just want to address. You see there's a lot of bumps right here. That's because I didn't lay my tape good enough or well enough. So I added a lot of air to go inside of underneath the tape. So whenever I added that epoxy, the air kind of bubbled and it created bubbles along my seam. So make sure whenever you're adding tape, you are really taking your time with it. Don't rush it the way that I did. And I'm going to post a link to the tape that I recommend. I don't recommend this, the tape that I use for the blue glitter. I actually recommend the tape that I use for the silver glitter. So I'll go ahead and post that in my link below. I got it from Amazon. Again, it was like 6 or 7 packs, rolls of tape for like $8. So I'm gonna go ahead and add that link in the description below. That is the one that I actually recommend. It was easier to lay than the thicker tape that I purchased a while ago. Now that you have your tumbler sanded, since I touched my tumbler, I always like to just spray it again with 91% alcohol before I go to epoxy. So I'm just going to go ahead and spray my tumbler with 91% alcohol, and whenever you spray it with the 91% alcohol, you'll see the fogginess from where you sanded disappear. That's how the tumbler will look whenever you go to epoxy it. So if you see any fogginess or scratches that you may have put on your tumbler from your sanding block or sanding paper, hit it with that 91% alcohol and that will show you how it will look whenever you add the epoxy to your tumbler. For the next step of your tumbler, if you're going to add a decal to your tumbler, you can go ahead and add that decal wherever you want. You can put a name down on the tumbler. You can add a cute picture, however you want it. I would go ahead and add that decal right now, as long as you're adding it somewhere around here. If you're planning on adding a decal down here, I would then go ahead and epoxy it with a thinner coat of epoxy, let it dry for 24 hours or air cure, and then add that decal. After you add that decal, add another coat of epoxy over it. So again, for your next step, if you want to add a decal to your tumbler, this is when you would add a decal. So I actually just finished another tumbler like so. This is a very similar tumbler. The decal, the name I added this name, so I just added the gold and then I added the black over it. I just added it on this step and then I went ahead and I epoxied over it, and you see the glitter then stuck to the tumbler. It's sealed in, the decal sealed in. Add that decal now, epoxy it. If it's still a little bumpy, wait 24 hours, sand it down, add another coat of epoxy. For my next step on this tumbler, I won't be adding decal to this tumbler just yet. So for this video, I'm just going to add another coat of epoxy. And once I add my next coat of epoxy, I'm going to be finished with this tumbler.